Welcome to the Behind the Fic podcast. My name is Fate, and you are listening to a podcast that interviews fanfic writers and lets them say their work out loud and really discuss it like they maybe haven't had the chance to. If you are listening to this, that means that our recording stuff worked, which is fantastic. Discord has been fun. Technology has been trying to secretly murder me, like that one episode Futurama. Maybe I'm being haunted by a ghost. I don't know. But, nonetheless, we have Owlheart as our co-host today, but our guest is someone who will introduce themselves.
My name is A, known as linktheacehero on Tumblr and the Demon of Hyrule on AO3. I write fanfiction specific for the Legend of Zelda series for recently now I started, and I've also have been drawing some fan art mostly.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, Zelda Link Week's been fun. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, Ace is talented in both writing and art, and it's not fair. But we're really glad to have you with us. The fic that you are... The fic that I said, our instead of R. That's the right thing. The fic that you are reading today, what is the title of it?
Called I Love You Too.
There you go. I don't think there's any trigger warnings, so we're going to just jump right into it. You can read along. I'm going to post the link below in the description if you want to read along as Ace reads it, but otherwise she'll just be reading it, and after that we'll discuss what happened, so take it away.
As the light that surrounded him began to die down and his consciousness returned, Link realized that he was back inside the Temple of Time. The familiar lighting that came from the windows illuminated the chamber where he once pulled the Master Sword and began his journey as the hero of time. I'm back in the temple, he thought. I feel different, more smaller and lighter. And was the shield always this heavy? He looked at his arms and sees that instead of his usual leather gauntlets, it's the bare arms of a child. On his back, where the Master Sword was once strapped to his back, lay the Kokiri sword and his Hylian shield. His tunic was now softer and lighter, just like the one he had when he lived in Kokiri Forest, or rather, the same one he had before he grew up. I really am a kid again. He looks around to say something to Navi, but sees that she is not there. Navi? Where are you? He looks around and searches for the familiar blue spark trails of his fairy friend, who is instead found with nothing. She's probably back in Kokiri Forest, he muses. He turned around to look back at the Master Sword, its dark blue hilt basking in the light of the day, illuminating its features, making the blade give off an ethereal glow. It seemed to look at peace, asleep, almost knowing that it was no longer needed. Link took a deep breath and let it out as he bowed to the Sword of Legend. Thank you for helping me protect the ones I love.
Food? We got fresh food here. Come and get it.
Come one, come all. Come and see my wares. Each piece of clothing here was made by hand, and each one was crafted with care.
Come on, you can't catch me.
Castle Town was just as lively and vibrant as Link had remembered it to be. The people were all out and about, vendors here and there promoting their wares and the things they had to sell. Couples holding hands and being affectionate while trying not to look so conspicuous. Children laughing and playing around while the parents bought the necessities and catched up on whatever was the latest gossip. There were no monsters, and no evil sorcerer king. Everyone's just so happy and at peace, Link thought as he walked through the town. Just like it's supposed to be. You should be back in the forest, where you'll be happy. Link suddenly stopped at the memory, nearly making him crash into a nearby fruit stand.
Hey, watch it, kid, scolded the vendor. You nearly crashed into my stand.
Sorry, Link apologized to the vendor. He couldn't help but begin to ponder on her words. Should he return to the forest? Is that what would make him happy? Or should he do something else instead? In the forest, he could sleep in without any worries and wake up in a hurry because he'd missed the sword from the great Deku Tree. He could eat all the fruits that the trees had to offer, play games with all of his friends, talk with Saria about anything, and maybe even patch things up with Mito. In the forest, he can be safe and live a life of peacefulness. But he wouldn't be able to see her again. Was that really that worth it? Sure, he might be safe. Sure, he could live a life where he could try and forget everything that he did. Forget all the people he saved and met, the places he'd seen. He could try to forget her. Forget all about her and just continue his life pretending that she was just another princess from a big kingdom that had nothing to do with him. Was him returning to that life really worth it? Worth forgetting her? No, he decided as he shook his head. It's not. It didn't matter if his life was no longer safe and as peaceful as it once was, or if it was even possible for him to regain it. The only thing that he wanted was a life where he could still be with her. That's what would make him happy. He redirected his view towards the castle. The grand marble building shimmered in the afternoon sun, its banners flowing in the wind with pride, and its path opening and welcoming to all. I know what I have to do.
But yeah, I'm stopping it there for the rest of all of you guys to read the rest.
Okay, so if you want to read the rest, as I said, the link is below. That was a really good reading, by the way. And as far as the rest of the podcast, we will be discussing the entire one-shot, so I would recommend, if you don't want spoilers, to go and read the fic so that you can appreciate the dialogue we're about to have. But if you don't care and you just want to hear us talk, then that's fine too. So again, great reading. Your voice, I don't want to be offensive, but like your voice is like just the right register to like be convincing as a child. I don't know. Like it just fits. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, I just like your voice it's not too masculine, but then it's got like a little bit of feminine, so it kind of sounds like a young boy, and it's like it fits. I don't know. I didn't want to be convincing. I didn't want to be insulting, but
yeah, it's like that perfect sort of like How do you say?
Androgynous.
Androgynous. I have no idea.
I know. I just wanted, and like even when you did different characters, like the shop people, you were like putting like different inflections in it. I'm like, oh, she's acting. Okay. I love when you guys act. So my first question, I feel like none of my questions are gonna make sense, but we're gonna try. During Ocarina of Time, Link is transformed from a child to an adult via the Master Sword. He likely feels like a child in an adult's body. In this fic, he seems like an adult in a child's body, and he has made the opposite change at the end of the game, as we know. When in his journey during Ocarina of Time do you think he has adjusted to being an adult and gotten used to it as the norm? Did that make any sense?
Yeah, that made sense.
Okay.
So, for me, I would think it's mostly around the time of the Water Temple, because I think that's around the place where sort of like that's where it's starting to hit more and more comfortably. Like, obviously, once you hit the Forest Temple, obviously you're still he's still probably trying to figure it out. He's like, this is all new. His entire childhood he sees is just completely just, not the same as it once was. Going to the Fire Temple is probably starting to catch up. I think by the time of the Water Temple, that's when it really started changing, and that's when he started to accept the fact that he is now an adult and now no longer a child. Because, I don't know, there's sort of like this sense of maturity, like once you start going to that point of the game, because you're already starting to get the hang of it, what is going on, what's the story, and I think that's sort of like where Link has, started to already transition from child to adult fully.
Makes sense. Owl, do you have a question?
Yeah. So, you mentioned in the notes that it was your first fanfic. How did that feel? Like, had you been wanting to write a fanfic for a while, and then it just kind of happened?
Yeah, so basically, actually, I was reading one of Fate's fanfics, and then I think I read to a part where it's just like, you know what? I'm gonna probably try this out, because, like I said, Fate's writing really inspired me a lot, and I think there was like this I don't remember which one it was. All I remember is just like, wait, hold on. It made me feel so much. Just like, I'm gonna write a different alternate. Like, it made me start to think more about like the Ocarina of Time ending and how it's just like I really wanted to do something with that because I didn't really see. I guess for me, I've never really saw a lot of people write a lot about that ending and how the epilogue was in Link's perspective. So I wanted to take a take on that.
That's fine. I'm fine. Whenever someone tells this is the second time this week that someone's told me that they were inspired by me, and I'm just like,
I did compare you to Akira Hamakawa when it came to your writing, so.
I think you said that when you came into my server, and I was like,
yes, like I think it was
you can't see my face, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think it was like early Tumblr-ish when I first met you, sort of. We were mutuals, and then I think it was something to do with pick someone who inspired you, and I think I picked you and a bunch of other different writers, and I compared you to Akira, and you were just like, what? Yeah.
Well, thank you. I will always say what. I had completely forgot what I asked. Oh, I guess how writing your first take was. Yeah.
It was a pretty fun journey. It was very very sort of not really stressful, more like when you're just like have so many ideas, you're trying to figure out how to put it all in one. Basically, it was very interesting. I liked the way I did the process with it. I guess that I tried to do as much in character as possible. Trying to think, oh, what is Link thinking at this moment? What would he be saying? What would he be thinking? And all that stuff. I guess like I really like the whole analyzing. That's the word, analyzing the way the character would react in this situation, and then writing that.
Right. And that's always very interesting for me as a writer too. Is not just putting your feet in their shoes, but also just kind of taking it as a character analysis of, okay, I know this character really well. What would they do in this situation? Or like learning a character through different situations. It's really interesting, and it sometimes takes you to places you didn't expect. I don't want to talk too much. I'm not the guest. So my next question kind of has to do with what we're talking about. A big controversy over Ocarina of Time's ending, as far as what I've seen throughout a lot of post Ocarina of Time fics, a controversy is that it seems like Zelda decides what is best for Link for him without really asking for his input or his consent. Why do you think Zelda did this?
Oh, I have the answer for this. I've been actually.
I knew. I wrote it down, and I'm like, she's gonna give a good one for this, or they're gonna give one for this.
You have no idea how long I've been. I've actually been waiting for someone to ask me that. So thankfully, so my take on that is simply basically guilt. Zelda feels very guilty for what she has in her eyes and in her mind, what Link has gone through. So because she meets Link in the courtyard as children, and she asks him to get the Spirit of Stones and to help her, as practically a stranger, they don't know each other that well, to help her do something that she feels is the right thing to do. And then that ultimately fails, leading her to go in through become Sheik during the 7 years, see Gandalf rule over her fallen kingdom. And I think because hold on, my brain's all over the place.
Okay, I love how excited you are. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Basically, she feels extremely guilty because she, as during the 7 years, saw everything that happened with Gandalf, her people, and then Link comes as the hero of time, and she, disguised as Sheik, sees his struggles, his trauma, every trial he has to go through, and starts to realize that this is my fault. I did this because I wanted to take control of the Sacred Realm. I tried to do what I should not have done. And so in the ending, where she is now the Sage of Time, and she can control time, she sees that as an opportunity for Link to recover his lost childhood, and she thinks that's what's sort of not that it's not really more that she thinks that's what's best for him. It's more that she wants what's best for him.
Right.
I guess in that sort of way. But I think the main factor is definitely that she feels extremely guilty and that it's her fault for everything because she was the one who had the plan, right? And that plan ultimately failed and led to what we see in the game.
Right. And I think you touched on that a little bit with the fic too. I just wanted you to ask that question directly because I don't know if it's discussed that much in the fandom, and I completely would agree with you that my answer would be that she felt incredibly guilty. And I think the other part of it too was that she thought so little of herself, like, oh, there's no way Link would want to stay here with me, you know. But definitely the guilt of being like, I ruined my kingdom. This is a ruined kingdom. I'm going to send him back to before any of this started, and he can just move on with his childhood as he was supposed to. But she didn't, I guess she didn't keep in mind enough that he had already been through that trauma and that he would have to live with that no matter where he went. And that he deserved to be asked, what do you want to do, Link? But that's fine.
Very caught on with the fact that she could finally fix her mistake, that she did
Right.
not think about everyone. I mean, it's not really her fault. She is still
Right.
technically. I mean, she has gone through so much that she didn't even get to be a child either. Like, she was forced to grow up probably even faster than Link had to, because Link
Right.
had a little bit of time, but Zelda had to literally see Ganondorf probably commit genocide or whatever. Who knows what he did during those 7 years, because it's completely different. But yeah.
I'm sure Ganon had a lot of fun in those 7 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, oh man. I mean, considering the fact that we see Castle Town all destroyed, oh man, that was very heartbreaking and nostalgic when I saw that.
Right.
Yeah.
This is so interesting to listen to.
Yeah. Good, because it's supposed to be a podcast.
I mean, it's so many interesting ideas and like analyzation.
Analyzation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another discourse that I've seen that not a lot of people talk about in the Ocarina of Time fandom is, well, for me personally, my, I guess, sort of headcanon, I guess, it's proven a little bit by canon, but I'll talk about that some other time, is that I sort of think that Zelda does remember, the events.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like...
I mean, you said that in this fic, like, it's...
Yeah, because, like, to me, it's sort of... I mean, she is a sage, so and more specifically a sage of time, so I can definitely see her, like, somehow also returning a bit, but that's up to, the fans' decision if they want it. But I personally prefer that she remembers, because it also gives you more angst, and it gives a lot of opportunities, I guess.
As opposed to her not remembering and Link just being like, welp. That's fun.
Yeah, because it's canon in Majora's Mask that Link stayed in Hyrule for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And Zelda says the time together we spent during those 2 months. If Zelda did not remember, Link wouldn't need to stay with her, because why would he stay with someone who doesn't remember all that he went through, and compared to someone who understands you and everything you went through? Like, it is more likely for you to stay with someone who understands what you went through and knowing what to do than with a complete stranger, basically.
Yeah. It makes sense. Al, do you have another question?
Looking back, is there anything you'd like to rewrite or like change about the fic?
Good question.
Actually, I would say a little bit more of the grammar, I would say, and like the way a few details, and maybe the way to mostly how do I say this? Pinpoint who exactly is talking about it, because I noticed when I'm writing Link's thoughts, I sort of like don't specifically write it like he's thinking something. It's more like it's just there. And then now with the more I've been writing, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do this and forgot to do that. Yeah, I think
Right.
I would have done that a little bit better.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about writing is that it's almost something you can teach yourself because you can not only read others' work, but then as you're writing, you can figure out, oh, okay, if I do this, that flows better.
Yeah.
You know, you learn from what you've done in the past, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, like other people's perspective, like
Mhm.
other writers be like, hey, can you better read this real quick to see if what I need to change, how's the flow?
Right.
Like that really helps a lot.
Yeah. Okay. You kind of answered my next question before, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I like the approach you took with kind of veering it more towards the possibility of a happier ending, because with her not remembering, it's a lot more tragic, but with her remembering, there's more to go off with an emotional connection between the two. Because she actually remembers their history. I was going to ask you if that's your personal headcanon now, and it seems like it is. But I guess now my question is, how does your personal headcanon fit into Majora's Mask and Link's eventual fate in Twilight Princess? Like, how do you see, with keeping keeping your headcanon in mind, how do you see Link's journey progressing personally?
Personally, all right, with the keeping the canon that Zelda does remember, I think it allows to flow more. So for Majora's Mask, it allows it to flow for Link to have more of that feeling of I need to get out of this world. Like it gives him that sort of like more determination because hey, he made a promise to someone he really cares about that he has to fulfill, and so and yeah, keeping that headcanon in mind, it makes me feel like oh, Majora's Mask has that time limit and the whole thing. It makes you feel like and with keeping that. Sorry. Yeah, for Majora's Mask, it does that. For Link's eventual fate in Twilight Princess as the hero shade, I think, I think that one's always a tricky one for me because
You don't have to answer if you don't want to,
no,
but it's
for that one, I feel like it gives you that option that he did have a happy ending, but then his life ended tragically in some shape or form, and then with the whole Zelda Remembers, it sort of gives you that feeling that I failed again.
right.
Like that whole like, oh, we tried to get a happier ending. We tried a new chance. We tried to get a new life. And yet it ended in tragedy again.
Right.
It gives you that feeling, oh, I will live in an endless cycle of death, of war, of never ending trauma and that stuff. Like regrets.
I don't know why, but that kind of reminds me of the Winter Soldier a little bit. I don't,
It does.
you were talking and like I remember the Tumblr post where they were talking about, or maybe it was what was the name of the Tumblr post, or maybe it was like a YouTube video where talking about how the Winter Soldier, if you don't know, Winter Soldier is Bucky Barnes from Marvel.
Yeah.
How he's like always being prepared for the next war, like even after he got out of like being brainwashed, it was like this battle, and then he was snapped, and then he came back and it was this battle, you know, and it's always something. So
yeah.
I don't know, that just kind of reminded me a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a reason why Bucky's my favorite character in Marvel, because he does give me some of that vibe from like, Time Link, the cycle that there is always a battle that you have to fight. Like it feels like you're never gonna have a chance for
Right.
peace. And every time he does have that chance, it's taken away like the next second.
Right. I think that's just a really interesting comparison to make, because both of them, like, with both Link and Winter Soldier, they both are not only blocked by what's happening, but they also get blocked by their past. Like the past catch up with them a little bit. And I just think it's really interesting. Anyway, I need to stop talking about the Winter Soldier and Link and the parallels.
I mean, to be fair, time like can parallel a lot of things.
Yeah. Alhart, do you have any more questions?
I think you answered everything.
Oh, that's good. I don't know. It's not. I don't know.
I'm trying to see if I'm...
I will go to the Tumblr question now. Why did I? Okay. So we kind of already discussed where you got your inspiration for this fic. So maybe for this question you can talk about another fic. So the question is, where did you get your inspiration from for blank fic? So you can either talk more about your inspiration for this fic, or you can pull another one that you would like to talk about the inspiration for, and then for me and Owl, when we answer this question, because this question goes out to all three of us, we will pick one of our fics. So, Ace, why don't you go first?
Alright. I think I might choose Precious, the one I did for the Make Fate Cry competition.
Right! Oh yeah, that one!
Yeah, that inspiration was, I think I talked about it before, was the whole idea of that Link's promise to Zelda, because the whole memory scene you get with Link and Zelda in Majora's Mask is always very, very emotional and heartfelt for me. Every time I see it, I cry, because I don't know, it just has that whole feeling of yearning, I guess, that yearning and some sort of pining that you want. Like, you can see that Zelda wants Link to stay, but accepts that he has, like, that he wants to do this, he wants to do this journey. And you have Link, who's like not really hesitant, but more like this sort of like wanting to stay, but at the same time really wanting to do this journey. Because I've always seen Navi leaving as a symbol of Link finally losing his childhood, and the whole Majora's Mask journey is the whole him trying to go back into his past, trying to reclaim that lost childhood, and going through all that grief and all of that, and then basically the 5 stages of grief until ending to him accepting that he is no longer a child, and now he can't go back, and that he is now an adult, I guess. And so with that, I decided just like, oh, I also wanted to figure out like the way Talt would react to that, because after defeating all the Loa, Talt is like, oh, you're really good at this, like, have you done this before? And then you have the Happy Mask salesman who keeps nudging you like, oh, I know who you are, I know what you did. And so it was always interesting to me, like, why Talt never mentioned it again, but then again, it's a game. And so I was just like, I was wondering, it's like, hey, I wonder if Talt would ever ask this about Link, like about the Ocarina, about the whole, wait, how is this doing time magic, and why he's so experienced in that field. So that's why I wanted to like sort of like write that and see how that would react. The characters would talk. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was paying attention, and what you were saying was great, but Gabby welcomed the bot, and I was trying not to laugh.
Wait. Oh, she did.
If anyone does, listeners, we're recording this on my Discord server, and we have this friend named Gabby who has welcomed the bot before without knowing that it's a bot, and like saying like, "Hey, put your pronouns and time zone," as if they're like a person. And she did that, and she's like, "Welcome, we're so glad to have you." Oh, okay. Shout out to Gabby.
Yeah,
Yeehaw.
Gabby. Sad
Okay.
noises.
Anyway, but that's great, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but It is Tattle.
Yeah, I guess it's because the way I say it, and I guess it's because my brain decides to read it fast.
Okay.
Afterwards, when you're just like, wait a minute, and then I went to the game. It's just like, oh, it is Tattle, not Tolt. I say Tolt because I switched the. I don't know how I read it that I switch out.
That's just how it is. I just wanted to say it in case there's some like someone listening and they are so excited to type in the comments actually moves glasses.
Oh,
It's Tattle.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, no, we know.
We know it's
We know.
Tattle. I'm just my
Okay.
brain pulled a dum dum when I was writing and forgot to spell check.
Okay, so Al, do you want to go ahead and talk about an inspiration for one of your fics?
Currently I'm reading an Undertale. Currently I'm writing an Undertale multiverse related fanfic. And it was inspired by the sudden realization that two characters are extraordinarily similar and could possibly switch places in the multiverse. And yeah, that is it.
All right.
Cool.
I'm gonna pull up 1 second because I'm just gonna talk about my most recent one shot because I've written so much that I'm just like I'll just talk about the one that people have read most recently. So the most recent thing I wrote was, or most recent thing I posted was for Zelink Week 2021, and it's called Trust. I'm gonna put all these down in the description, by the way. Everything that we've all mentioned, but basically, it's just a shorter one where Link and Zelda are back in the castle, but they're in that throne area that is kind of hard to access because if you go in the wrong place, you trigger the boss fight in Breath of the Wild, but it's kind of like up there and you see one throne that isn't broken and one throne that is. And I was just inspired to write something for in that setting because I'd never read anything around that set in that area, and I always thought that it was so interesting that the Breath of the Wild team put those details in of those thrones being there but being ruined. So I don't know, I just wanted to put a scene in there, and I think it worked well. So yeah, that was my inspiration for that because I think it was about actually a couple years now. Oh no, it was a couple months after the first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Where I was just kind of snooping around Breath of the Wild Castle looking for hints. And I found that area and I was like, this is so cool. And then 2 years later, I finally wrote something that was set in there, so that was my inspiration for that.
I'm always scared to go anywhere near the sanctum
Yeah.
because I do not want to trigger the boss fight.
Right.
I'm always just like, no, I'm gonna just go this way. I haven't found that place though. I'm actually might go back now that I finished the game.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one more question for you, Ace, and then we'll start to wrap this up. Is there anything you would like to talk about or tease about what you're currently working on? Like what is coming up? What can we look forward to?
Is my mic okay? There we go.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely one I'm working on that I've definitely have been teasing here in the Discord. Pastels and Gabs have definitely better read this. It's basically a compilation of one shots of my headcanons of the 2 months between the Ocarina of Time aftermath and before Link goes on his journey to Majora's Mask. Because after I discovered there was a period, I was like, oh, there's a lot of potential in here. So currently,
Great.
that's what I'm working on.
Sounds great.
Cool.
That's exciting. Do you have a estimated time of arrival or just kind of in the works?
It is still definitely in the works.
All right, that's cool. That's cool too. I have a lot of works in progress where it's just
Yeah.
I've written a little bit.
At
I
least,
don't know
at
when
least it's not like Pastels, his entire ocean of works in progress.
I have a few. I don't have an ocean, so we're okay.
Yeah, Pastels has an ocean. We know this.
Yeah. Okay, so we are reaching the end. Is there anything either of you would like to say?
Don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I really hope that this recording stuff works. Let's see. Next. Oh yeah. So this episode is 2 days late because I had some technical problems with my computer. I apologize, but this usually posts every other Tuesday. So next Tuesday we actually have. I mean, okay. Today is a special guest. We all love Ace, but next in 2 Tuesdays from now, we got Spicy Chestnut, which is like
big name.
wow,
A very big name in
and
the community.
a big name. So we're that's gonna be me and Kip interviewing Spicy Chestnut about their fake love in a time of calamity, which I'm very excited to read. I usually read things right before I record so that I like have it fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I always want to make that clear because it's not like I'm putting it off. It's just like if I read it and then record like 2 months later, I'm just like, wait, what did I read? Well, what have I read since then? And it'll get jumbled in my mind.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's very reasonable.
But that's very exciting. So that's in the next couple of weeks that will be posted. But for now, this has been the Behind the Facade podcast with my co-host Alahar and our guest. I keep wanting to say God of Death. It's not. That's just their Tumblr username. Link the Ace Hero. All of the information as far as their social media accounts and AO3 usernames and all the fics that we've talked about today will be in the description. And go ahead and check those out. Both of these people are wonderful people. And yeah. So bye for now.